Chapter 1. Shia had long since perfected the art of navigating the labyrinthine halls of Caldwell Enterprises Mansion, a place that could only be described as a blend of cold marble and even colder moods. It wasn't that she didn't like the place, it was huge, certainly, and the job came with perks like expensive coffee and more free snacks than she knew what to do with. But it was also home to Leon Caldwell, the notoriously broody CEO who had somehow decided that Shia, a woman with no formal experience as a matchmaker, would be perfect for the job of his life. Her day had started like any other. Checking his schedule, ensuring his coffee was at the right temperature. No one, including himself, had ever been allowed to drink it too hot, and preparing his meals just the way he liked them. Which, as it turned out, was almost identical to how a 5-year-old might order a meal, plain, bland, and unseasoned. Shia, his voice, deep and gravely as always, came through the intercom. "I need you in my office." Another round of sighs followed as Shia put down her work and made her way to the grand office on the second floor. She walked briskly through the mansion, her black suit crisp, her mind already mentally ticking off the list of things she needed to do for him. Deliver the documents he needed to sign? Check. Order his lunch? Double check. Prepare for his usual temper tantrum? You could always count on that last one. When she entered the office, she was met with his usual stare, a mixture of indifference and annoyance as he sat behind his desk, elbows resting on the polished wood. His sharp, almost predatory gaze locked onto her. "You're late," he said, though he never seemed to care much about punctuality. "I've been here since 6, Mr. Caldwell," Shia replied flatly. "In case you've forgotten, we're not exactly in the business of time traveling, and it's already almost noon." He didn't flinch. In fact, it looked like he barely heard her, his eyes scanning a file in front of him. Shia mentally prepared for whatever trivial task he had in mind today. More spreadsheets? More phone calls? Maybe another one of his surprise business dinners where he was more interested in insulting his clients than actually making deals. But then, something strange happened. "Shia," he said, with more seriousness than she'd ever heard. He motioned toward the door. "Grab your ID." She blinked, unsure if she'd heard him correctly. "What?" "My ID." "Yes," he replied. "You're going to need it. We're going to find me a wife." Shia stared at him, the words slowly sinking in. "Excuse me." His dark eyes met hers, unreadable. "A wife, Shia. Not just any woman. Someone I can marry before my mother's will is read." For a moment, the whole world seemed to pause. Shia thought back to all the odd requests Leon Caldwell had made in the past, the extravagant dinners, the weird office habits, the bizarre calls at 3 in the morning that had her running around gathering bizarre things for his mood. But this? This was new. She tried to find her voice, but all that came out was an incredulous laugh. You want me to find you a wife?" "Yes," he said simply, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. "And I trust you'll do it well, considering you manage everything else for me." Shia opened her mouth to argue, but was met with his unwavering stare. No escaping this one. She stood there for a few more moments, trying to figure out if she was dreaming or if he was actually serious. "Wait a second," she finally blurted out. "You're the CEO of one of the largest companies in the country, and you're asking me, your butler, to find you a wife?" He didn't even blink. "I have no time for this, Shia. It's your job now." Shia, still stunned, glanced at the door. "And I suppose you want me to start right away?" "Yes." "Now, get your ID. We have work to do." Shia exhaled loudly, trying to process it all. It had been a relatively normal morning until now. This was a new level of ridiculous, even for him. She walked out of the room, still uncertain if she had just agreed to something that would haunt her for the rest of her life. A wife. For him. What had she gotten herself into? Chapter 2. Shia stood in front of her apartment door, staring at the small piece of paper in her hand. It was a work ID, a simple laminated card that allowed her entry to the mansion. She didn't know why she was holding it like it was a golden ticket to some bizarre new adventure. She should be used to Mr. Caldwell's strange demands by now, but this was a whole new level of absurd, she sighed. When she stepped into the mansion, the air felt unusually heavy, as if the walls were whispering about her new assignment. She was, of course, far too professional to let it get to her, but still, what kind of CEO asked their butler to find them a wife? Was this some sort of weird, rich person loophole? Was he being manipulated by his mother's will? And if he was, why was she the one being dragged into it? She walked quickly down the corridor to her office, her heels clicking against the polished marble floors, trying to push the thoughts out of her head. The last thing she wanted was to spend any more time thinking about her ceaselessly brooding employer. He was like a human riddle, constantly puzzling, impossible to understand, and frankly a little too high maintenance. Just as she opened the door to her office, the unexpected happened. Knock, knock. She froze. That knock. It wasn't from the staff, nor was it from anyone else who would dare enter her office without permission. No, this was from the man himself. Shia's heart skipped a beat. She had been trying to avoid the conversation about the wife search as long as possible. But here it was again, staring her in the face like some ridiculous game she had no choice but to play. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door, and there he stood, Leon Caldwell. In his usual black suit, his expression as broody as ever. "Shia," he said, his voice so deep it might as well have been a thunderstorm. "Get your ID." Shia blinked. "Mr. Caldwell, you're all ready now," he interrupted. "It's urgent." And before she could process what was happening, he stepped forward, grabbing her wrist and pulling her out into the hallway. She barely had time to collect her bearings before she was walking briskly behind him like some kind of well-trained servant on an important errand. He wasn't leading her to the office. No, he was leading her straight for the elevator. "You're coming with me," he said, in that gruff way of his that brooked no argument. Shia, still holding her ID like it was some cursed object, followed him into the elevator. Her mind was racing. What now? Did he need her for a grand dinner date with one of the many potential wives she'd lined up? Was this some sort of test to see if she could keep up with his social calendar while also playing matchmaker? The elevator dinged, and they stepped out into a hallway that led to an enormous wing of the mansion Shia had only passed by a few times. It was all part of Mr. Caldwell's private residence, a place where he rarely allowed even the staff to roam. Her curiosity piqued. She kept her mouth shut, trailing behind him with the ID clutched in her hand like it was some kind of final exam she hadn't studied for. He led her through a set of double doors, and when they opened, Shia was greeted with the most unexpected sight. A formal dining table was set for two. There were no flowers, no candles, just the kind of pristine, immaculate dinner setting you'd expect from someone who had far too much time and money on their hands. But there was one very strange detail that stood out. At the head of the table sat a very large stack of papers. Mr. Caldwell turned to face her, eyes steely, his expression unreadable. "Shia," he said again, softer this time. "This is important. I need you to pick someone for me. Someone who won't make me want to throw them out the window." Sir," Shia began, still bewildered by this sudden turn of events. "I mean, with all due respect, don't you think you could be a little picky? You're asking me to choose someone to marry you." His gaze softened, just barely, before he nodded slowly. "I know, and I trust you. So make it count." Shia stared at him, trying to wrap her head around his strange request. But before she could speak again, he added something that made her heart stop. "Take a seat," he said, motioning toward the other chair. Shia's brows knitted together. "Wait, you want me to sit here with you?" He gave her a curt nod. "I'll explain the whole situation. But you're going to have to start doing some research, Shia. I need someone who can handle my eccentricities and won't run off when things get difficult." At that moment, Shia wasn't sure whether to laugh, cry, or lock herself in the nearest closet. Welcome to Comic Love Story Channel. Subscribe for more chaotic moments, as if they might explode. Each folder had been meticulously labeled: age, Background, family connections, media presence, how likely they were to murder a husband for inheritance money. You know, the usual stuff. Leon sipped his espresso, unmoved by the awkward silence stretching between them, so Shia finally said, "I assume you want someone with all their teeth, a solid background in not being annoying and no interest in your money? That would be ideal," he said, flipping through a folder. "Also, no influencers. One tried to film me brushing my teeth once." Shia blinked. "Are you serious?" He didn't answer, which meant yes. She shook her head and flipped open a profile labeled Marissa Greystone. Heiress, fashion model. Allegedly punched her own grandmother at a charity gala. "This one seems energetic," Shia muttered. Leon leaned over, squinting. "Too energetic. She mistook me for a waiter the last time we met." "Ouch!" She tipped me in dog biscuits. Double ouch. Shia set Marissa's file aside and grabbed another. "What about someone low-key? Maybe a kindergarten teacher? A librarian? Someone who doesn't know the value of a luxury yacht and isn't emotionally attached to Pilates." Leon raised an eyebrow. "Do you know any?" Shia opened her mouth, then closed it. Most of the people she knew were either terrified of Leon or under the impression he lived in a secret underground villain lair. Which, to be fair, wasn't entirely wrong. "All right," she said, rolling up her sleeves. "We're going to do this scientifically." "Oh!" "I'll conduct interviews," she declared. "I'll create a shortlist. And when I say shortlist, I mean short. Because I'm not interviewing 50 rich women just for you to glare at them and say, 'Her perfume's too loud.'" Leon smirked. It was brief, like a solar eclipse, visible only for a second and then gone. "Fine. 3 candidates. That's all I'll tolerate." "Deal. But you owe me. I already pay your salary." Shia stood. "No, I mean you owe me a snack tower from the kitchen. The good one. The one with the chocolate-dipped strawberries and the tiny cheesecakes." He stared at her. "You're bribing me with my own food?" "I'm emotionally preparing myself to set you up with a stranger who might one day share your toothbrush." "I think I deserve a cheesecake or 5. Leon sighed. "Fine." Shia grinned in victory. "All right, Mr. Caldwell. Let's get you hitched. But fair warning, if this ends up as a rom-com gone wrong, I am not doing a sequel." Leon, for once, didn't respond. But something about the twitch at the corner of his lips made Shia wonder, was that man actually enjoying this? Chapter 4. Shia had never in her life prepared a presentation titled Potential Wives for the CEO, but here she was. Standing in front of the mansion's parlor-turned-interview chamber with a clipboard, a bell, and 3 highly confused women. Each of them had been personally selected by her, carefully filtered based on Leon's preferences, lack of criminal charges, and ability to pronounce quinoa without sounding like they were sneezing. "I want to make one thing clear," Shia began, pacing like a drill sergeant. "This is not a dating show. There are no roses, no dramatic music, and if anyone cries on my carpet, they're disqualified." Candidate number 1, a poised ballerina named Lizette, blinked. Is that an espresso machine behind you?" Shia turned sharply. "Yes, that's my bribe station." Focus. Candidate number 2, a posh equestrian named Bianca, crossed her legs elegantly. "So, when do we meet Mr. Caldwell?" "Soon," Shia said. "But first, a lightning round. I ask questions. You answer. No rambling, no sales pitches, and no tragic pasts that shaped you. I've seen enough drama in my boss's jawline to last a lifetime." The women exchanged glances. Clearly, this was not the average matchmaking experience. Shia clapped her hands. "First question. Let's say Mr. Caldwell forgets your birthday. What do you do?" Lizette, cry silently and write a ballet about my sadness. Bianca, book a trip to Paris. Alone. Then post about it. Candidate number 3, who simply introduced herself as Steph with a PH, shrugged. Remind him next year. He's rich, not psychic. Shia blinked. Okay, Steph's in the lead. Steph smiled. Do I get a sticker? No, but you're closest to not making me bang my head on this clipboard. Neat. Xia scribbled a few notes. Next, what would you do if Mr. Caldwell, came home moody and silent? Lizette, read him poetry. Bianca, order us both a cleanse. Steph, leave him alone. I'm not a feelings wizard. Xia actually laughed. Feelings wizard. I like that. Just then, the door opened with a dramatic click, and in walked Leon Caldwell, as if he were about to fire someone with a single blink. Everyone fell quiet. The women straightened in their seats. Steph waved like she was at a food truck. Leon gave Xia a sidelong look. What is happening? Xia grinned. Speed dating. You said 3 candidates. I present 3 brave souls. They've passed phase 1. Not running away. Leon glanced at each of them, then at Xia, then back at the espresso machine. I need coffee before I can handle this, he muttered. Right this way, Mr. Broody, Xia said, already handing him a cup. And remember, no glaring, no grunting, and please, for the love of all things caffeinated, try not to scare anyone. He took the cup, and as he left for the next room with the first candidate, Xia leaned back against the wall, exhaled deeply, and whispered to herself, this is either going to end in a wedding or an HR lawsuit. Chapter 5. Leon sat across from Lizette, the ballerina, who was currently discussing the metaphorical connection between dance and emotional vulnerability. He stared. He blinked. He regretted everything. I believe love, Lizette said dreamily, is like play, graceful, controlled, and full of pain, but in a beautiful way. Leon took a slow sip of sparkling water and considered drowning in it. From the hallway, Xia peeked in, mouthing, how's it going? She gave a thumbs up. He gave her a dead-eyed glare that said, you will pay for this. 0.5 minutes later, Xia swapped in Bianca. Bianca walked in like the room owed her rent. She had an accent that could slice through silk and an attitude that could cut glass. Leon barely sat before she was already critiquing the lighting. You poor thing, she said, voice dripping with pity. Your complexion is simply begging for warmer tones. Who chose this chandelier? Were they emotionally unstable? Leon tried to formulate a sentence, but she was already pulling out swatches from her handbag. From the hallway, Xia sipped her coffee and grinned. That's what you get for handing me a ring pop at 2 a.m. and calling it a proposal. Then came Steph. Steph sauntered in with a grape soda in one hand and a half-eaten muffin in the other. She didn't sit. She dropped into the chair like a cat claiming territory. So, she said, eyeing Leon with zero awe, what's your deal? Leon tilted his head. Pardon? Like, what's the actual reason your butler is arranging a marriage for you? Are you terminally allergic to effort or just bored? Leon blinked. Xia, eavesdropping behind a houseplant, silently high-fived the fern. I'm efficient, he said, narrowing his eyes. Steph snorted. You're scared of people. I get it. He frowned. Oh no, I'm not judging, she said, taking a bite of her muffin. If I had your jawline, I'd hide behind it too. Leon stared at her. Then, without warning, he chuckled. IT wasn't a full laugh. Not yet. But it was enough for Xia to nearly choke on her coffee. Steph raised a brow. What? Nothing, he said, brushing a crumb off his sleeve. You're just odd. Thank you. I aim for memorable. By the time the meeting ended, Xia had gathered all the notes, judged all the expressions, and concluded only one thing. Steph had somehow broken Leon's shell in 5 minutes flat. As the women were leaving, Xia caught Leon in the hall. Well, she asked, which one's the lucky future Mrs. Broody? Leon adjusted his cufflinks. None. Xia blinked. None? Not even Muffin Girl. He looked at her. I don't want them. Then who do you want? There was a pause, a long one. Leon turned to her slowly. I'm thinking, maybe the person who knows how I take my coffee, yells at me when I forget to eat, and once threatened to stab a board member with a dessert fork. Xia's brain short-circuited. Me. She squeaked. He raised a brow. Did you grab your ID like I told you to that night? Yes, but wait now. Are you serious? Deadly. Shia stared at him like he'd just asked her to marry a toaster. You're choosing me over a ballet goddess, a fashion empress, and a muffin ninja? Leon smirked. You're the only one who terrifies me slightly less than I terrify myself. Chapter 6. Shia froze, her brain running Windows 95 and definitely crashing. You're the only one who terrifies me slightly less than I terrify myself, Leon had said. Cool, smooth, and borderline romantic if she weren't internally screaming. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. She looked like a confused goldfish in a waistcoat. You, me? Yes, Leon replied, entirely too calm for someone proposing marriage to his butler/personal alarm clock. Shia stepped back dramatically, tripped over a rug, and caught herself on a vase. The vase wobbled. Leon caught it. Neither of them mentioned the near-death by floral arrangement incident. You want to marry me? She finally asked, hand on her forehead like she was fainting in a historical drama. He shrugged. Technically, you're the only one I trust not to poison me for forgetting our anniversary. That is not the basis for a lifelong commitment. Isn't it? He asked with maddening calm. Low poison risk, strong coffee, punctual, sounds like love. Shia stared at him. You have the emotional depth of a paperclip. Leon considered. That's generous. She paced. You're my boss. Not if we marry. She blinked, he added. Then I'll be your husbandager? No. He smirked. CEO of your heart? Leon, I swear, chief emotional overthinker? Stop trying to be charming. I'm not. I'm trying to be honest. And for once, he looked it. There was no teasing in his eyes now, just that familiar, quiet intensity that usually preceded either a hostile takeover or a dramatic staring contest with a board member. I'm not good with people, he said. I'm difficult. Awkward. Terrifying, apparently. Only a little, she whispered. But you've stayed, he continued. Through tantrums, drama, fire drills, you caused 2 of those. And through it all, you've yelled at me, mocked me, and made me laugh. Shia's breath caught, and I think he finished, voice softer, if I have to face another 10 years of boardrooms and fake smiles. I'd rather do it with you yelling at me for forgetting to eat. For a moment, silence. Then Shia squinted. You're not proposing because your mother threatened to set you up again, right? Absolutely not. You're not terminally ill? No, you didn't lose a bet? No, she crossed her arms. Say something incredibly romantic right now, or I walk. Leon sighed, stepped closer, and murmured, I'll give you lifetime access to the espresso machine. Shia's lips twitched. Then she burst out laughing. You idiot. Is that a yes? She grinned. It's a maybe. Chapter 7. Shia had one goal the next morning. Reverse whatever accidental engagement happened last night. She woke up in a cold sweat, stared at her wardrobe, and muttered, if I wear black, does that symbolically cancel everything? Downstairs, Leon was sipping coffee like a smug prince of passive aggression. Good morning, fiancé. She threw a napkin at him. I'm not your fiancé. You agreed. I said maybe. Maybe is not legally binding. I printed the marriage license application just in case, he said, holding up a very real, very official-looking document. What? Pre-filled. All that's left is your signature. Leon, this is insane. We can't just get married. Why not? You already boss me around. It's practically a marriage. I boss you around because you forget to eat and wear socks. See? That's love. She flailed dramatically, like a bird trying to escape invisible emotional netting. You're emotionally constipated and weird. He sipped his coffee. And you're yelling again. Must be Tuesday. Shia stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a muffin, and began pacing. Okay, we need to act fast. We go back to normal. No more weird flirty comments. No more calling me fiancé. We bury this under a rug and pretend it never happened. Too late, came a voice from the hallway. Shia froze. S.O. did Leon. His assistant, Arlo, stood in the doorway holding up his phone. News just broke. Headline says, Cold CEO engaged to mysterious butler. It's trending. Worldwide. Shia dropped her muffin. Leon didn't blink. Of course it is. Arlo scrolled. People are calling it a Cinderella story. Someone already made fan art. Fan art? Shia screeched. Want to see? Arlo asked cheerfully. No. Yes, Leon said at the same time. Arlo turned the screen. There it was. A digital painting of Shia in a sparkly tuxedo holding Leon bridal style. Leon actually smiled. They made me look gentle. Shia looked ready to disintegrate into her own shoe. No. No. We need to deny this. Issue a statement. Say I'm allergic to commitment. Or men. Or both. Leon leaned back in his chair. Too late. Mother already sent champagne. Shia whimpered, he added, and my aunt has arranged a tea party. A tea party? She hosts one for every engagement. It's her thing. Shia stared at the ceiling. Is there a cosmic hotline I can call to cancel my existence? Leon leaned forward. Or we roll with it. Just for now. Fake it. She looked at him. Until when? He smiled. Until you stop laughing when I call you, darling. She blinked. You wouldn't, darling, he said sweetly. Please pass the sugar. Shia hurled the sugar bowl at him. Chapter 8. Shia had faced many horrors in her life. Coffee shortages, rogue printers, Leon's attempt at cooking, but nothing prepared her for Leon's Aunt Margot's engagement tea party. The mansion was overtaken by lace, florals, and glittering elderly women with judgmental eyes and diamond brooches that could fund a small country. Leon stood in a tuxedo, looking like a dark prince, the human embodiment of, I'm only here for the inheritance. Shia stood beside him in a borrowed dress and heels that made her feet scream in 3 different languages. This is a trap, she hissed. They're going to eat me. Just smile, Leon murmured. If they ask about our love story, just say it involved coffee and survival. Should I also tell them you sleep with your eyes open like a Victorian ghost? Please don't. Before she could retreat into a vase, Aunt Margot swooped in. Darling, she cried, kissing Leon's cheek with the energy of a well-fed hawk. Then she turned to Shia. You must be the magical creature who finally thawed my nephew's heart. Shia smiled tightly, more like startled it into action. Oh, she's witty, Margot said, delighted. Tell me everything. When did you know he was the one? Shia blinked. When he didn't fire me for setting the curtains on fire that one time? Leon chimed in. That was the moment I realized I needed her. Also, a fire extinguisher. The elderly ladies giggled. Shia realized she was in deeper than she thought. Let's have a toast. Aunt Margot declared. To young love. Glasses were raised. Leon leaned over and whispered, You're doing great, darling. Keep talking like that, and I'll spike your tea. You already did. She glanced at him. Wait, seriously? He winked. She wanted to scream, but one of the elderly women took her hand. You're good for him, dear. He smiles now. Not often, but sometimes. With his eyes. Shia blinked, stunned. Oh! Another added, we thought he'd marry a spreadsheet. Leon murmured, I considered it. Shia smirked. Too high maintenance? No sense of humor. By the time the tea ended, Shia was exhausted, high on tiny cakes, and confused about the line between fake and real. Leon helped her into her coat. You survived. Barely. You were charming. Aunt Margot asked if you could give me etiquette lessons. Shia laughed despite herself. That'd be the blind leading the broody. He opened the car door for her and said softly, You were perfect today. She blinked, and for once, didn't feel like correcting him. Chapter 9. Shia opened the mansion doors one peaceful morning and immediately slammed them shut. Leon, seated in the library with his usual stoic cup of coffee, looked up as the doors thunked loudly. She peeked around the corner, whispering like they were under siege. Leon, yes, there are women in the foyer. He sipped. There usually are. These are armed with color palettes and clipboards. He blinked. Oh, right. The wedding planners. Wedding planners? Leon set his coffee down. We might need them. You know, to sell the fake engagement. She grabbed the nearest throw pillow and chucked it at him. We were faking it. Fake. Not baking 3-tier cakes and hiring flower girls. They said peonies symbolize loyalty. It felt poetic. Are you hearing yourself? You're enjoying this. I'm leaning in. Shia stormed over, whisper yelling. Leaning in is what people do when they accidentally kiss. Not when they orchestrate an entire ceremony complete with gold-accented calligraphy invitations. Leon shrugged. You have good taste. I have taste because I'm a butler. You're also my fake fiancé. And potentially real wife. Shia's eye twitched. You keep saying that last part like it's a coupon offer. Before Leon could reply with another smug quip, Arlo entered holding a tray and a notepad. Good morning, almost Mrs. Stone, he said cheerfully. I've scheduled your cake tasting for Thursday. Also, there's been a sponsorship offer from a designer brand. They want to dress the bride. That's you, by the way. I'm aware, she snapped, then turned to Leon. You're letting this get out of hand. Technically, you agreed to it. I agreed to a fake engagement. You didn't specify how fake. Shia groaned and flopped face first onto the couch. I am going to end up on a reality show. My life will be narrated by dramatic voiceovers. Leon sat beside her, speaking gently. Is it so bad? She peeked at him. What? All of this. Us. Pretending. Having fun. Being something. She looked away. It's dangerous. What if I start liking it? His voice dropped. What if I already do? She froze. Silence fell between them like a heavy velvet curtain. Shia slowly sat up. You mean that? Leon nodded once. I'm not good with feelings. But this? With you? It feels possible. For the first time, she didn't respond with sarcasm or threats of blunt objects. She just whispered, me too. Chapter 10, it was the final wedding prep meeting. Shia sat at the head of a long table filled with decorators, stylists, florists, and one very stressed harpist. Leon sat beside her like this was just another quarterly board meeting, utterly calm. Shia, not so much. She slammed her hand on a pile of linen samples. Why are all the napkins peach? The wedding planner blinked. Peach is in this season. I'm not peach. I'm chaos with caffeine. Give me forest green or suffer. Leon leaned in, smirking. Darling, that was oddly poetic. I'm not your darling, she gritted, cheeks warm. Yet, he whispered. Before Shia could stuff a napkin in his smug mouth, the door burst open. Ayan walked a tall, model-like woman in heels that could stab a man and a coat worth more than Shia's life savings. Leon. She cried dramatically. Leon blinked. Olivia? Shia squinted. Olivia. Olivia? Ex-girlfriend Olivia. Olivia stormed in like she owned the oxygen. I heard the rumors. You're marrying. Your butler. Shia raised a brow. Household manager, thank you. Olivia ignored her. Leon, this is absurd. If this is a stunt, it's not funny. If this is revenge, it's immature. If this is real, it is, Leon said calmly, standing up and slipping his hand into Shia's without hesitation. Shia tried not to short-circuit. Olivia stared. You're serious? Leon nodded. Completely. Is she even your type? She handles my life, my schedule, my coffee, and my chaos. She's every type. Shia blinked. Was that a love confession disguised as a logistical breakdown? Olivia looked furious. She's not even your equal. Shia smirked. Nope. I'm above him. I make him eat vegetables. Leon added, she also threatened to taste me once. I still might, Shia said sweetly. The wedding planner cleared her throat. Should we, proceed with the cake test? Olivia threw one last death glare and stomped out, designer heels clicking like thunder. Shia looked at Leon. Well, that was dramatic. He shrugged. You handled it perfectly. She rolled her eyes. She hated me. She's not the one marrying me. Shia paused, then muttered, yet. Leon grinned. Shia tried not to smile back. IT didn't work. Chapter 11. Shia stood in the bridal suite, staring into a mirror that reflected a woman she barely recognized. Lace, curls, subtle makeup, and sheer panic behind the eyes. "I look like I'm about to marry a prince," she muttered. Arlo peeked in. "Technically, you're marrying a CEO with the emotional depth of a soup spoon, but yes." "Regal." Shia groaned. "Where's Leon?" "Outside, looking like he's walking into a corporate merger." Of course he was. Her heart pounded like it was trying to escape her ribcage. This started as a fake engagement. A lie. A joke. A let's fold the board and keep the women off his back situation. But now, her name was printed on the vows. Guests were seated, the cake had their initials, and Leon had said real things. What if this was a colossal mistake? What if she was reading everything wrong? What if, hey, a voice said behind her? She turned. Leon stood there, dressed like a fantasy. Tie slightly loose. Hair perfect. Smile, almost nervous. "You're not supposed to see the bride before the ceremony," she said automatically. "You're not supposed to fake marry your boss. But we've been breaking rules since day one." She let out a shaky laugh. He stepped closer. "You're panicking. Maybe want to run." "What?" "I've got a getaway car and 2 passports. We can ditch the ceremony and go somewhere warm where no one asks questions." She blinked. "You're serious?" Leon's voice softened. "Shia, I know this started as a game. But somewhere between floral arrangements and napkin fights, I stopped pretending." Her breath caught. He held her gaze. "So this is me. 100% serious. If you want to walk away, I'll let you. But if you don't," he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Not the showy one from the planners. This one was simple, real, then let's do it for real. Shia stared at him, heart thudding. Then, without a word, she grabbed the ring, shoved it on her own finger, and said, "About time, Stone." Leon laughed. Was that a yes? Shia stepped closer and grinned. "You're lucky you're cute when you're earnest." They kissed, messy, unplanned, perfect. Outside, the wedding planner screeched about timing and lighting. Inside, Shia and Leon finally stopped pretending. Epilogue 3 months later. Shia was in the kitchen at 7 a.m., wearing Leon's hoodie, fuzzy socks, and the official title of Mrs. Butler CEO Hybrid Extraordinaire, granted by Arlo and approved by their very confused mailman. Leon strolled in. Hair tousled from sleep, still broody, still hot, and still unable to make a decent cup of coffee. "I tried," he said, gesturing to the sad, steaming mug on the counter. Shia took one sip, gagged, and dropped it in the sink. "That's not coffee. That's a war crime." "I think I used paprika." "You think?" Leon smirked. "I married you for your caffeine skills, not your sass." Shia leaned on the counter. "Liar. You married me because I make you laugh when you're trying to intimidate people. And because you make fun of my socks. And because you couldn't find anyone else willing to marry your emotionally constipated face." Leon leaned in. "And because I love you." She froze. He rarely said it. She loved that he didn't say it all the time. When he did, it hit like a truck full of flowers. Shia kissed him, quick and soft. "Same. Broody nerd." They were interrupted by Arlo crashing into the kitchen with a giant, sparkly box. "Mail delivery for Lord and Lady Chaos," he announced. "What did you order?" Leon asked, suspicious. Shia opened it and gasped. Yes! It was a lemon pie wedding cake replica sent by Aunt Margot, who'd become strangely obsessed with their relationship. Leon squinted. "That's a cake?" Shia grabbed a fork. "That's breakfast." They sat at the table, eating pie straight from the box, surrounded by sunlight, sarcasm, and something that felt suspiciously like happily ever after. Leon wiped a bit of frosting from her nose. "So, what now?" Shia grinned. "Now? We live. You brood. I sass. We rule the empire. And maybe, just maybe, I'll let you make me coffee again." He raised an eyebrow. "Even with paprika?" She smirked. "Don't push it, husband."